Okay fans, let's put a wrap on week number 11. Some people call it Armageddon. You had number 2, 4, 8, 9, 14, 17, 25, and 3 all lose. Not since 1985 has 2, 3, and 4 lost on the same weekend of college football. So let's get through the rankings. Top 25 again from last night. There you see them, and we're going to quickly go through the matchups if the season ended today. Again, remember that's the caveat. You'd have number 1 against number 4 in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl with Alabama versus Clemson, and Ohio State, Michigan in the Fiesta Bowl, number 2, number 3. Again, the committee then goes to the Sugar Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the Orange Bowl for their matchups. You have Oklahoma against Auburn in the Sugar Bowl, Washington, Wisconsin in the Rose Bowl, Louisville, Penn State in the Orange Bowl, and Western Michigan still leading right now for the Cotton Bowl bid. They've got some competition now with Boise State and San Diego State coming up for that slot, but they would play Colorado the last at-large in the Cotton Bowl. Okay, now we're going to take some time to really project ahead here. Now this obviously is going to change as we saw last week. This will be completely different next week, but let's have some fun and kind of project ahead here. This is considering the remaining schedules of the top 9 teams, okay, with reference to the conferences. So you got to take into consideration the SEC, the Big Ten, which has 4 teams. That's telling you something. The Big 12, we've listed Oklahoma right now. That could change with the West Virginia game this week, and then the ACC with Clemson and Louisville. So looks like Alabama's got a clear way to play in the SEC championship game in Atlanta with Chattanooga at home and Auburn at home. This could be a real interesting game, and Clemson needs Auburn to play well or win that game to help their resume, being that they beat Auburn earlier in the year. Looks like they'll play either Florida or Tennessee in the SEC championship game, but Alabama has a control of their destiny, a clear way to be number 1 and possibly play for the first time ever in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. All right, let's talk about the Big Ten now. As I said, we've got 4 ranked teams: Ohio State, Michigan 2 and 3, and then you got Wisconsin at 7 and Penn State at number 8. Here's the interesting part about the Big Ten. This game, Ohio State, Michigan, which ends the season, could be a quarterfinal play-in if Ohio State wins the game and Penn State wins out. Why? Penn State has beaten Ohio State. Penn State lost to Michigan. So if Penn State wins out against Rutgers and Michigan State and Ohio State beats Michigan, it'll be Penn State representing the East in the Big Ten. Looks like Wisconsin with 2 wins against Purdue and Minnesota would ultimately get on the west side of the Big Ten. And if they won a game against a high-ranked Penn State or Ohio State, Michigan, you could see Wisconsin definitely get in the top Final 4 here. This game here, the Ohio State-Michigan game, they still have tough games before they play each other. Don't look ahead. Michigan State could be very difficult for Ohio State this weekend at home, and Indiana puts a lot of points up on the board. So tough games here before they play each other, and as we said, what could be a quarterfinal game. If Michigan beats Ohio State, Michigan, with their win against Penn State and Ohio State, would represent the East, and they would possibly play Wisconsin. If Ohio State beats Michigan State and Michigan, and Penn State loses, then you got an opportunity for Ohio State to represent the Big Ten against Wisconsin. Let's talk about the ACC. All Clemson has to do is beat Wake Forest. If they beat Wake Forest, they're in. South Carolina is a rival game. Rival games are always difficult. That game, I believe, is at Clemson. So Clemson has an opportunity probably to play Virginia Tech, it looks like, in the ACC championship game. None of those teams are ranked. That does not bode well for Clemson. They need to handle all 3 of those games in a controlling fashion to help them at the end of the season. Louisville has Houston and Kentucky left to play. They need some help. They need some help from Wake Forest to get the opportunity to play in the ACC championship game, so they do not control their destiny. The Pac-12, Washington needs to beat Arizona State at home this week, and then they have Washington State at Washington State in the Apple Cup. Very difficult game there. Washington State's ranked right now 22. If they won those two games, you'll see them play either Colorado, Southern Cal again, or Utah again. They've beaten Utah, they've lost to Southern Cal. Both these teams would be ranked, and that would really do a lot for Washington to help them get in the Final Four. If they are a one-loss Pac-12 champion, ACC Clemson 12-1 one-loss champion, then you've got Alabama representing the SEC, and then you've got the Big Ten, as we talked about earlier. I think it's a stretch right now for the Big 12. However, Oklahoma still has West Virginia and Oklahoma State, who are ranked 11 and 14, I believe. They beat those two teams, and they're going to make it very interesting because their losses are to Ohio State, which is ranked number 2 right now. It's a quality loss. And they lost to Houston, which is not as good a loss right now unless Houston were to beat Louisville. Houston beats Louisville, they're going to shoot up in the rankings. That will really help Oklahoma. At this time of the season, you got to look at quality wins, but good losses. That really means a lot to the committee. And then lastly, your strength of schedule. Obviously, that's something that Oklahoma has in its favor. So again, this will all change next week, but that's just kind of projecting ahead a little bit. You can start to wrap your arms around the Big Ten is in really good condition right now to get definitely in the one team in and possibly two teams in the college football playoff. Let's go to the matchups now. If the season ended today, we'd have Alabama-Clemson in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. Alabama, again, the first time ever in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. And Ohio State-Michigan in the Fiesta Bowl. And the winners playing in Tampa for the national championship. Enjoy college football this week. We're going to enjoy it. Here's some of the games we're going to see this week.